Hey everyone.
Aloha. Woo!
I don't even know if they can hear me. I hope so. Yeah,
I hope so too.
Because it was the same. Yeah, we're here. We just we watched the season finale, maybe series. We don't really know. The Mandalorian chapter 16. What was it called? The Rescue.
The rescue. The rescue.
Yeah.
And that title had so many meanings.
Yeah.
And I know everybody on the internet has talked about this a million times, a million different opinions, and a million different loves. But I think, the reason I say it had so many meanings with that rescue, this year, everybody has felt the effects of how down, crappy, disheartening this year has been. And the one thing that I always loved about Star Wars is that it embodies hope. It embodies joy and hope. And that's what this episode did. So the rescue for me personally, and I hope a lot of other people, I imagine a lot of other people, is it brought that spark of hope that Star Wars does. And it was just magnificent in that regard for me.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Okay, guys, that's the show. And
all right, good night.
Goodbye now. We got a lot of Star Wars to talk about here. But yeah, Alan, thank you for joining me for this. This is Alan, everybody.
Of course.
He's right there. Alan has company.
I have company. Oh, okay, real quick. Come here. No, you cannot do that. But
why?
But because am I doing something here? Look over here. Tell everybody what happened when you saw the last episode of the match. She's leaving. She's done. I knew that'd get her out of here. Well, it was exciting because I heard what you said, and I said no, not right now. Sorry.
Why, Daddy?
We can edit that out.
Yeah. No. You need a second.
So yes, I am happy to be here. I'm real happy to be here. I'm real happy to be talking about this. So my daughter is all about playing the tablets. That's what she wants to do. And I can't say nothing because here I am on a screen right now.
You're on the tablet.
I'm on a tablet. And yes, we're back, and I really, really, really I'm happy to be here. Bittersweet though. I mean, we got a closing, we got an ending with the season finale, and big mysteries. Is it going to be another season with Din? Is it going to be the Book of Boba? Is going to be our Mandalorian season 3? We don't know, but whatever it is, I'm here for it. I'm here for it because this did me right.
Two separate things. I really do.
You think so?
Yeah, because it just doesn't make sense for Disney to do that. Like to say this is our show, and they did say that they were doing another season of Mandalorian in December, and then they look at this, it comes out, he's a Mandalorian in December, they're gonna do 2 of those, and I think they are. Like, I think it's gonna be Monday you get Book of Mandalorian, or Book of Mandalorian.
Book of Boba.
You get the Book of Boba Fett, and then on Fridays you get the Mandalorian, because Boba did not seem interested at all about the greater Mandalorian plot, like the getting Mandalore. Like, what are you out of your minds? Like that place is a joke.
I love the what he said. He said the Empire turned that planet into glass, which it was a very stark image, and that place is probably done and has no interest. Yeah, he has no interest in taking that. No interest in being involved in that. So
now we'll just go through the episode, the opening sequence. You had where they were chasing that Star Destroyer. I recognized that actor from somewhere that played like that the a-hole imp. Oh, Aaron's backstage. Huh. I see him now.
Let's get yes, there he is. Oh, yes, he just popped up on mine too. There he is.
No joke. It didn't notify me of your link text. I realized what time it was. I hopped in and the recording had been live for less than 10 seconds. I've been here the entire time trying to get
Aaron, we're lost without you. We really are.
We're lost without you. Well, you popped in like an X-wing out of nowhere. So that's what we're doing. So
Skywalker,
they already know. If they're watching this, they already know. Spoilers away. I mean, right here, I got the whole crew here. Everybody. I don't have a little mini Cara Dune or a little mini Bo-Katan, but just wait. I'm gonna get some paint. I'm gonna give me another Mandalorian, and then we're gonna paint her up.
So
but
have what I wanted to ask first was we've talked about this the past couple weeks of this show. Did you guys watch the previously on? Because I skipped the previously on right away.
Yeah,
I didn't want to.
I skipped those because they always spoil who's going to show up or what's going to show up. So yeah, they do. So
I did watch it. Technically, I guess if like it's the only thing that's spoiled in it directly, would have been Bo-Katan's involvement, and that's just if you weren't someone who didn't think she was going to come back. Like she shows up in those pre-clips, but anything that indicates towards where the episode was going to end or like Luke showing up, there's none of that. They didn't go that far with spoiling anything.
Well, they didn't. Like they show the scene where Grogu's calling a Jedi and they explain that. So because I didn't watch it, I skipped it and then I watched it like after the fact, like just to be informed, see what the previously on was. So like that's what my philosophy is. If you're into the show, like if you're ingrained in it, skip the previously on because I don't think it ever adds anything to the show. It just reminds you in a way that's like, hey, remember this part? This might come back in this episode. Right. But I say that about all shows. So like just the previous.
But then sometimes they also will just show random clips. Like one of the random clips spurted in this one was his ship blowing up. That has nothing to do with this episode. It was just a clip. All stuck in there.
They're in Slave One now. Yeah. Which is cool. And he doesn't get a new ship in this episode, which is something that some of us like predict.
But to be fair,
taking that Landa class shuttle with him.
I was going to say one of the things, and obviously we can break it down however we want to break it down, but one of the things about this episode that I like is, last season ended by closing everything up. Like all the loose ends with the characters in terms of for that season were closed with the door open of, okay, we know now this is what his mission is. But in terms of everything they established in terms of story in season 1, everything was pretty much locked shut, with the opportunity to bring things back, right? Like even stuff with like Mayfeld, for example, right? He was locked up in prison. If you had never touched that character again, nobody's missing anything because his bit in the show was done. But then you reintroduce him and establish something new. This season ended with nothing answered. Like that last scene, like I thought they were going to keep going with that ship and they just end it then and there. So there is everything to answer for as to where that actually goes.
Yeah, for sure.
All your messages in the private, guys, I'm here.
Guys, help out.
Yeah, no, I was just like, I wonder what will get their attention. It was just
I actually, one of the things I liked about that is that they have all these questions that have been leading up, and they don't answer, so they could for the next possible season, that they can answer those. And what I really liked about it is because there's been the criticism of Luke coming in is that it's relying too much on nostalgia, relying too much on member berries, that kind of stuff. But what I really liked about it is that I found the two most touching moments for me were when our boy says goodbye to Grogu, and that was absolutely beautiful and brilliant, and the conflict on Bo's face with Din just saying, look, no, I'm not interested in this. You can have the dark side. I don't care about this. I really liked those two moments. Those were really cool for me.
Because that's the thing. Even though it's like running through Bo's head, like I could kill it, but it goes against everything that she has stood for. And I just want to give a quick explainer for the quote unquote rules of the Darksaber, because there's been some confusion out there about that. The Darksaber has no magical powers. Like there's no sort of magical thing that says like you can't turn it on unless you win it in battle. What Bo-Katan, she's conflicted because the last time she was presented with the Darksaber, she took it and then she was not able to unite all of Mandalore the way that she wanted to. So basically what it is, just having the Darksaber will unite the people that she already has. But if she wants to get like the cults out there, the little coverts, the Mandalorian coverts that they're out there, especially like the Children of the Watch, Death Watch, these other factions, she's gonna need to win them over in another way by like besting somebody in combat or not take. So right now, what's going on in Bo's head is that not that I gotta kill this guy and take the Darksaber from him. It's okay, there's somebody else that has the claim to the throne now, and we need to work that out. And what's interesting is they even say Moff Gideon. I don't think if Moff Gideon doesn't talk in that scene at all, like if they just put him in the brig and don't talk to him the rest of the time, which is probably what they should have done, he doesn't mention any of that stuff. Mando doesn't even know that stuff, and then Bo can just take it and make up a story because it's what he said. The story is what matters, and you don't need to kill the person and take the lightsaber from them. So I don't want people to think that Bo's going to be an antagonist. It's just they're planting seeds so that people like us have something to talk about over this long off season without Mandalorian. But what did you guys what did you think of that, Aaron? Just like the Darksaber stuff. We talked a little about it last night.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did briefly. If anyone checks out this show, check out our other show After Dark that we do on TMG. It was a topic that came up. I don't know if you noticed, I tried to stay out of it mostly because I figured I was gonna bring everything up here, so I kind of stayed back on most of what we talked about. Honestly, and this is one of the few things I said. If that's the direction that the show is headed, I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of it. I'm always someone that walks into things open-minded. So obviously I've been a fan of what they've done so far, and I will check out what they do in the future. But as someone who thinks the strongest points of the show over the last 2 seasons have been the struggle of the humanity within Din Djarin and seeing the evolution of that character, doing it through the prism of his connection with Grogu and seeing him go from being essentially the heartless bounty hunter to, going so far as to not only realize everything that he believed is not a lie, but sort of a manipulation of what the truth is and a variation of it, and realizing that protecting this creature and making sure that Grogu knows that he cares is more important than any code about keeping his helmet on. Because, and again, this plays into the fact of, the door shut and the episode ends, and that's that. Not only did he take his helmet off in front of Grogu, now Cara Dune, Fennec Shand, the 2 Mandalorians we had that discussion with in the earlier
Mandalorian
episode.
being there helps.
Yeah, and so it's an interesting position to put him in terms of that sense. That's what I've liked about the show the most. As someone who isn't a deep canon guy, just the conceptual idea of, the future of where the show is going is delving into the politics of Mandalore and who should do what and who has to lead. That doesn't interest me as much. That's not to say they couldn't make it interesting in the execution, but if that's where that's part of the reason why I almost kind of sort of buy into the idea that maybe the Book of Boba Fett is a season 3. And it could go either way, I think. But I think that would be an interesting concept of, okay, so it is still the Mandalorian, but now it's season 3, the Book of Boba Fett. Let's follow a different Mandalorian and come back to this at another time.
Kind of like
honestly,
The Wire, like season 2 of The Wire.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, you follow a different group. Yeah. I actually like that idea a lot because we got the complete story of Din and this and Grogu, and I love the fact that he's always discovering. The character is always discovering things. The best storytelling is when your character is discovering things and you're discovering it with them, and this season was complete with that, 100%. I think this season was way better. The first season was very good. This season was better in that regard, that we're discovering a lot more with this character too, because he's discovering. I mean, one of my favorite lines in all of these was when they're on their way to put him on Grogu on the Seeing Stone, and he goes, "Don't you want to learn all that Jedi stuff?" Because to him, it's just this thing. He doesn't really know much about it because he doesn't have to. But to us, we know everything about it, and I love that discovery aspect. I mean, my favorite thing was when Luke walks in and he goes, "Are you a Jedi?" He goes, I don't know. That was great.
Are you a Jedi? Is that what you are? Okay.
That was really cool. I love that.
It reminds me of like when I explain Star Wars to people who don't watch Star Wars. Like my sister doesn't really know anything, but her last thing that she loved that was Star Wars was when Attack of the Clones came out, and she saw Yoda flipping around on the screen, and she's like, "Oh wow, Yoda!" That's as much as she cares about. So I gave a Grogu plushie to her daughter, and my niece, and she was explaining today. She was showing me pictures, and I'm like, the baby Yoda, she loves her baby Yoda. I'm like, okay, his name is Grogu now. He went to Jedi school. Do you want to go to Jedi school?
Went to Jedi school.
No, he will forever in the hearts be baby Yoda.
Well, one thing that I really loved is my daughter's very angry with me right now, so I can't bring her in again.
Yes.
But my kids were watching it. The second time I watched it, they were watching it with me, and then they saw the hooded character. And then, now again, I said this last night on our shows, that the hood was high enough from the back. It could have been Ahsoka. And they weren't really versed in the X-Wing as much. As soon as I saw the X-Wing, I knew, it's him. It's
right,
him.
Yeah.
But as soon as the green lightsaber popped up, both my kids stood up and went, "What?" And they just screamed, "Oh, this is Luke. Oh my goodness." Yeah. And then at the end of the episode, my son, who was 9, goes, "Wait, does that mean Kylo Ren kills Grogu?"
I hope so.
Well, we don't know. We done something you don't know.
I'm on board with that.
Which is funny because that actually was something that got brought up. I don't know if you were there at that point. It got brought up in the comments After Dark. Somebody commented. So does that mean if he is with Luke? Yeah. Because obviously we're still very, very far removed from that point, probably about at least 10 years. But if he is
maybe
still
20,
with him 10 years down the road.
We're 25 before that.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm saying the whole Kylo betrayal thing happens a little bit
long
before
time. A lot can happen.
We're still a good number of years, but it's like if Grogu is still with him all those years later, does that mean he was one of the people killed? And it's like, that's something they'll clarify down the road, I'd assume. Yeah.
I think in that story is
Ahsoka too.
True.
Yeah.
True. I think we're going to see Grogu in Ahsoka. I think the way they made this work enough to where if they end, that Mark Hamill, this was the last time he ever played Luke. I think if they get another actor or do something with that, I think in Ahsoka we might see an Ahsoka Luke scene, which I would love to see at least one Ahsoka and Luke scene where they're talking, so that we can see Grogu again in the Ahsoka series.
That's what R2 could have been saying to Grogu. Like, I saw Ahsoka, she's alive. Like that, because R2 probably still thinks that Ahsoka's dead.
That might have been. I think. I mean, it could have been anything. There was clearly a conversation going on there, which was cool, and recognition, which was nice.
R2 doesn't speak Force. I don't think R2 can sense what Grogu's saying.
I don't think he can.
Force. So that's like what they did say. Aaron, what you got?
Oh no. Well, I was gonna say. So with that scene when Luke showed up. Obviously, so I saw the X-Wing and I wasn't paying too much attention. And my first quick thought was, are they bringing those X-Wing pilots back? Because they could use those in the earlier episodes. And they were actually, funny enough, they were both in Peyton Reed's episode earlier in the season.
Yep.
So my first thought was, are they coming in to help them? And then as soon as it docks in the ship, I was like, oh, it's Luke. Yeah. Because there's no reason those guys would be flying into the ship. Like, once it went in, I was like, X-Wing, the Jedi has to come at some point in this episode. All right, so it's Luke. Yeah, that's who's coming. And so I was just curious. The scene itself was the best I think they could have done with what they were going for. I understand why they went with the CGI route. They probably didn't want to commit a new actor to the role just in case it's not something that goes any further than this. Mm-hmm. Do you think Luke was the best choice to bring in that scene?
Yes.
Because to me, honestly, to me, it did start to hit a point of, this is getting a little fan service-y of Luke. Of course, we know that there are a couple of other, not many, but a couple of other Jedis that could still be around at this time.
I think it's yes and no.
Luke and to me, the moment that got me in terms of, all right, this seems a little overboard fan servicey, was despite the fact that Luke has been slicing dark sabers through this whole ship, R2 just rolls up behind him, and I'm like, okay, as cool as it is to see R2D2 in the show, what's he been doing? Just trailing behind him the whole time while he's murdering robots? Like,
yeah. I mean,
just why?
That's what he did before. It's what he done before on Bespin.
But that's the thing. To answer your question about like, was Luke the best choice for this? It's both yes and no. Do I think Luke was the best choice to save him from like that situation with the Dark Troopers? For that, no. But is Luke the best choice like to send Grogu with? Yes. But I just didn't think that would come this early in the show because, like you, I thought that was the aesthetic of the show, the father-son dynamic. And then, like, the finale, he would be giving him off to Luke. But clearly, that they're going in a different direction with this show. That it's not going to be like the father-son Grogu Din dynamic that we had. So bringing Luke Skywalker in this moment, I think Luke is the best way to write Grogu out of this show.
Yeah,
but
I agree because
he's the best savior for this scene.
I think he's both. One, because he's the only Jedi out there who's going to create an academy. We know that he's going to try to retrain Jedi. He's also probably the most powerful one that's around. And also, I mean, just as a fan service thing, and we got to remember the two guys that created the show are super fans, and what every episode is, besides being a discovery of these characters, is I had this toy, and this is what I'm going to do in the best possible way. And so this was the Luke that I always wanted to see what happened after Return of the Jedi, and now I got to see it. I don't need any more. I do not need a series of Luke, a young Jedi Academy, blah, blah, blah. No, I just wanted to see badass Luke Jedi taking out something. And if it's taking out these Dark Trooper guys, awesome, because why not? Because they made them so formidable that it was cool. So it mirrored, Lucas talked a lot about poems and echoing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this echoed the Rogue One last appearance of Vader being a badass, which we wanted to see suit Vader being a badass. I think it was a perfect thing because my Luke, that's what he did. Heir to the Empire, those Zahn books, we got some action Luke, but we got it in books. We got it in our imagination. This time we got to see it on a screen, done extraordinarily well, and just enough to go, okay, you know what? I'm satiated. I'm satisfied. It doesn't take away from the new stories and the new characters, because I was equally as moved with Grogu and Din saying goodbye. So it didn't take anything away, and it only added to it. So I think it was the kind of perfect, okay, here we go. Because honestly, if it would have been a new Jedi that we didn't know, especially fans, not fans of the books and the novels and things like that, then it would have been some Jedi we don't know. Oh, well, that's not satisfying. I don't want him to send off Grogu with somebody I don't trust. But Luke, I trust Luke.
Yeah.
It makes most sense. I trust him. And Grogu, I'm emotionally involved in him. I trust Luke. Here we go. It's all right, because we are saying goodbye to the character too, potentially, because he could be gone forever. So to us as the audience. So I think in all those ways that was kind of the perfect send off.
And it mirrors when when Luke takes Vader's mask off, to see his father so that he can see him with his own eyes. Like with this time, maybe the last time he sees his son, might be the last time the son sees his father. So he takes the helmet off so that they can see each other before he goes off with Luke. I thought that one, that part was really nice. My biggest problem with Luke being there, though, is that he just up and leaves. Like right after, or he just shows up, says 3 words, and it's like, "May the force be with you," and then just leaves without any sort of like explanation. Like he could have had a line like, "Here are New Republic coordinates. You can find my sister there. She'll get you in touch with people that'll help you." But no, it's just, we're in crisis. Okay, I saved you. I'm taking your son. Now I'm gone. It's like everybody's just left there to stand. I kind of want to see what the scene was, like what the conversation was after that elevator door closes, and like it's just the Mandalorians and Fennec and Cara Dune standing there like, what the fuck just happened? Or do you think he like puts his helmet back on right away?
I think we might get that in season 4 if next season is Book of Boba. And I think, and I'm okay with that. I actually enjoyed the fact that we didn't see, because for Din, we don't know if he's going to go the route of, you know what, I can take my helmet off for important moments. He might not take it off all the time, but he might take it off more and more for important moments.
Pedro Pascal would be far too expensive to have there every episode. That helmet will stay on
That's true.
the time.
That's true. That's very true.
He's there for most of it. Like he's been in the suit for most of it, like this season. Even like though there are like doubles for a lot of it, but what was interesting, like Tamara Morrison, because I've looked at the credits, he doesn't have a double. He doesn't have a double.
No,
just him
I'll jokingly give Pascal shit. He is on set a decent amount of time, but there's a reason they have 2 highly credited stuntmen that are in the suit as well, because he's not there for large portions of it.
It's a luxury, is what it is, because you can shoot things like that. That Boba Fett episode, like the episode that you had with him and Fennec and Grogu gets captured. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't in the suit in that episode at all, because that was one of the few episodes of this show that they shot on location.
Yeah.
So when you're going on location, stuff like that, it just helps logistically, because certain actors will be Hollywood based, certain actors are Atlanta based, certain actors are Boston based. But what you get is a little bit of flexibility there in your shooting schedule. What did you guys think of like the lightsaber duel with Moff Gideon and Mando with his spear?
I thought it was well choreographed.
It was very well choreographed. It was really good. It was a definite payoff from the moment we saw the real lightsabers couldn't cut the Beskar, and then the Darksaber.
But it can melt it if it's there long enough.
Oh yeah, I think it would have melted it. He would have had 2. But I think the payoff on all that was really, really great. I actually enjoyed the whole episode. Action wise, it was satiated and well done. I think the plan of them getting into the ship was well done. Gideon's kind of being ahead of them a little bit. I thought was well done. I really enjoyed it top to bottom. I didn't think anything was
so much.
I didn't like. And I really love the fact that. Yeah, we see these characters that just their ultimate payoff. I was a little bit, hey, where's the guy, Mando? Where's the what's his name?
Boba?
The male one that was with
Bakshi.
Bo. Bakshi. Where was he? He was gone. But I didn't let it bother me too much. He's probably maybe doing something else. That's cool. But I really
so that you can have only women be in that scene. That's what it is. That's why he's not you can have that girl power scene. It didn't hit me until like the end of the scene, after they've already gone through 3 different levels of stormtroopers. Like, oh my god, there's no men in this scene. Like it's just them kicking so much ass.
Kicking a lot of ass.
Like Main-Nod dodges the laser blast.
Oh, the laser blaster.
Is that like part of her augment? So like is it her entire spine that's kind of
I don't know, but it was cool to see.
Because it kind of looks like the way she dodges is very machine-like almost.
Do you know that actor is 56 or 57 years old?
Damn. Yes.
It's amazing. She is so good.
Kicking ass on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the last decade. And like,
she has.
That's why I was so angry when they killed her off last year, because like, why do you bring her
now in? You know why.
Shoot her. It looks like she's going to be the co-lead of that.
She's going to be right there with the Boba, which I'm all aboard.
And
she's awesome.
And they're all. That is actually one of the things I find interesting. Is you can tell that in terms of writing and pre-planning, Lucasfilm is very well aware of what they're doing with their characters, because that's a character who got introduced. And like, honestly, I genuinely believed it. Like, outside of the fact that, it's Ming-Na Wen, I was like, but she has a connection to Disney. So give her an episode, give her a spot, you kill her off. Cool. That's fine. I couldn't give a shit if I ever saw that character again in that moment in time. She's a recurring character in this season. Whatever Book of Boba Fett ends up being, she will be a part of, and she's in Bad Batch now, establishing the further history of that character. So they clearly had that plan in place when they introduced her, just to go, okay, I mean, it doesn't fix the fact that that episode is the worst episode of that season, but you can tell they are clearly thinking out as to like, okay, this is what the plan is. Let's establish.
And that's a very Filoni thing to do. Like, you'll have an episode there you look at, like, I remember there was this episode of Rebels where they save, the space whales, like the hyperspace whales, and you're watching that episode. It's so throwaway when you see it, but going back and watching it, it's almost like a Star Trek episode of Star Wars. That's why a lot of people didn't like it, but it still fits into the greater plot because that's how Thrawn and Ezra end up getting lost. Is through those whales. But through those whales, I say with such seriousness.
Such ease.
But with that episode with how Fennec Shan, she's everywhere now, and I think that just proves that if season 3, quote unquote, of The Mandalorian is The Mandalorian : The Book of Boba Fett, and we don't see Mando on that show, I guarantee you Mando will probably be like 3 or 4 episodes in the Rangers of the New Republic show, much like Cara Dune was on this show.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is, the only thing that they have confirmed about season 3, because I believe they're renewed for a 3 and 4 now. The only thing that they have confirmed about season 3 is that Pedro Pascal will be in it. Yeah. But as I've said, as of this moment, Disney and Lucasfilm have not made an official confirmation as to what the hell the Book of Boba Fett actually is, outside of that's your setup, that one scene. The Book of Boba Fett is the title. And season, with that and shop. I didn't love it. I love it. Like, line up the poster, and
she was looking at the camera, like she was holding it looked like a video game cover.
And then December 2021. Right, that's all we know about it. But there's nothing else confirmed. So I absolutely could see a way in which, like, let's say if that is the season 3 and that is the focus of season 3, even if they're not indebted to each other anymore, they now have that connection and they clearly like each other on some level and work well together. And you could see even in the first
last time.
And you could see even in the first season, like, Mando and Fennec have some sort of respect for each other, even if in that moment they're adversaries.
Yeah.
They do have some sort of mutual respect. So I could absolutely see, like, let's say if season 3 shifts the focus for a season and this is the story we're telling, I could see Pedro Pascal, them finding a reason to have him appear in, if not every episode, a couple of them at
least.
Before shifting back maybe for a season 4.
Yep. No, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I got to jump off real quick because the kid's out there, but I just wanted to say, I think I'm all aboard if they do kind of vary it up, because these past 2 seasons were chapters, and we always kind of wonder why the chapter thing instead of the book of, books have chapters, makes perfect sense. So maybe chapter, 17 through 18, or maybe it's a new chapter 1 of this, 1 through 8 is going to be book. And I think Din pops in every now and then, possibly. I'd be on board for that. Either way, I'm on board for whatever happens next, because my love of Star Wars is renewed in the biggest possible way. So again, bringing hope. That's what this episode did for me, and the season brought hope for me, which is really, really cool to have that feeling again, because it makes me feel just like Return of the Jedi made me feel when I was a kid. This makes me feel the same way, which is hype. All right, gentlemen. Keep talking, keep going on, and I will see you guys. We talked about Nikki and I before you jumped in, Aaron, doing this, maybe going back, checking out other things, but keeping this show alive so we can do it, so we can be here for that next year, for that season 3, whatever it may be. And then let's keep it alive and keep it going. But aloha, guys. Yep, exactly. All right, aloha, guys. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May the force be with you.
May the force be with you. Always.
Awkwardly walk into the elevator and have the CGI face follow. But yeah, I think what's more likely to happen is that we get possibly, because I remember what they did with Flash and Arrow, the season that they launched, Legends of Tomorrow, a lot of those characters would appear on Flash and Arrow for like the first 5-6 episodes of those seasons, and then in January they launched Legends
Right.
of Tomorrow with those characters. So I think what is more likely to happen than it be an entire like different entity, because we don't know how many episodes the book or how many chapters the Book of Boba Fett is either. It could be something where it comes in December. It's the first week of December. They have a couple of weeks where you have the Book of Boba Fett, and then that ends or it continues, but they introduce Mando in an episode, and then the next week the season premiere of Mandalorian happens. So I could definitely see them running both shows concurrently, because then what you'd end up doing is maybe some people don't want to watch the Book of Boba Fett, some people don't want to watch the Mandalorian. You get that crossover potential where they can announce like a crossover event and you get people to watch new shows. Like that's how Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Grey's Anatomy do it. It's synergy. It's beautiful.
I don't know if they'd make it kind of like the CW. I don't think they'd take these two shows and be like our crossover event. But I think they're obviously, because now we know with Book of Boba Fett happening, there are, because again, without knowing if it is a season 3 or a new show, realistically speaking, we have the entity of the Mandalorian story, the entity of the Book of Boba Fett, and then we have the Ahsoka show, and we have Rangers of the New Republic, which are now 4 shows, all operated by the same showrunners, working within roughly the same timeline. And so I feel like you can naturally have characters move and shift if you would like, without necessarily making it like a Chicago crossover like they do. Just because I don't love that format. The stuff I've seen of the CW, I'm not the biggest fan of either. And so I think that format's a little overdrawn. But if it's like a natural movement and crossover, like I could absolutely see it be something that works. Like one of the things I thought of was, because they gave no details about that Rangers of the New Republic. I think if not as main characters, I think Cara Dune will have something to do with that, because they establish that she is like a ranger of some form in the show. And I think, I forget the actor's name, but it's Paul something, the guy who played the fighter pilot alongside Filoni, who reappeared in Carl Weathers' episode and gave her that pin. I think he'll have something to do with that show too. I think there's a reason they introduced an actual actor playing one of those characters and not just like Dave Filoni or Rick Famuyiwa. Like an actual actor has been brought in to play one of those characters now.
You could have Iden Versio on that show too. I was just thinking, Janina, the lady they had play on, her name's Janina something. She played
Janina Gavankar?
Yeah, that's her. She was on Arrow too. She could reprise her role, because that's kind of what she is when that game ends. She's just kind of like this Republic rebellion. She works for Leia, like she's kind of Leia's enforcer, doing like these different.
How big the gap of separation is it between Mando and where that game is? I've never played it.
That game ends, like it has a time jump at the end, but when it ends, like the this era of stuff, they have the Battle of Jakku. They win the Battle of Jakku. The Empire has retreated. It's after that. It's after Jakku, I think.
But and Jakku happens right after Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah, it's like 2 years after Endor. So
okay.
They're like scattering.
So we're still within a rough time range of when this, because I don't know. We know the show starts 5 years after. They've never actually established how long these 2 seasons take place over, although they're various early time jumps.
Yeah.
But they've never established like 6 months later or anything like that.
No. We know they spent a couple months on that planet with Cara Dune. Like they were on there for a while, because he says something like weeks back. Like weeks back, there was a lot of heat weeks back for a small town like this. So they were there for a while.
That had a time jump in, which honestly, that's one of the only criticisms I have of the show overall. I wish they would establish more like what the timeline is, because it would
had that problem too.
especially with that, like the episodes in season 1 where you had the string of episodes where it was like individual plots. Like, I'm very curious as to how long each one of those was in between. You know what I mean? Like, what would take him from that planet in episode 4 directly to Tatooine, or was there a thing in the middle? But what I don't need is like, and that's one of my problems with an episode earlier this season, Peyton Reed's first episode was almost an equivalency episode of, oh, okay, instead of doing a time jump, we'll take an episode to show you the travel.
Yeah.
And that was an episode that was filled with almost a whole lot of nothing. Yeah. So it's like, there's got to be some balance in between the two. But I just wish they would establish a bit more of just a solid timeline so we know like how long it's been. Because even like in the midpoint season in episode 4 when they're going through the lab and they mention Moff Gideon for the first time and he's like, "What? No, Gideon's dead. Like we killed Gideon." Like almost as if like time has definitely moved on from that point and Gideon is accepted as a dead figure who's now making a reappearance. And it's like, wait,
like those Jawas didn't tell them that there's this guy with a lightsaber that just climbed out of a TIE fighter. Wait, how did he get off of the planet? Is what. Like, I'm so confused about.
The Empire probably came and picked them up.
Yeah, Empire. Yeah, they did have that base, but like, it's like on Earth. If something launches off of Earth, like a spacecraft, everybody knows about it. Like, there's pings everywhere. Something going into the atmosphere, and they just sneak off. It's just one of those things in Star Wars that I think is funny because it's the past. It's the future, but it's the past, so it's kind of analog, and they can't do it. But what you mentioned about the time, that's kind of something that Star Wars has always had a problem with, besides like The Last Jedi, where it tells us it's like, yep, it's right now.
Well, I was gonna say they don't ever usually exactly say, but they usually can say like, okay, it's a couple years.
Like, how long did Empire like how long was that movie? Because how long are they on the Falcon? How long is Luke on Dagobah for? That's a question that people always ask.
Yeah, you're right. The original films had that issue. The prequels were a bit better. The prequels were a bit better about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just assume that like hair. I just assume that like Empire's maybe over a couple of days. Like I don't, because you can't simultaneously run those two stories, because you can't say Luke was on Dagobah for 6 months and then say, oh, it took him 6 months to get to Bespin.
Yeah,
like those two wouldn't align. So I would say he wasn't there
traveling for sublight. Yeah, but and they even set it up in this show. If you're traveling at sublight, you're gonna run into somebody eventually. So you can't even say that they were traveling sublight and it took them a long time to get there, because Boba Fett was following them. He could have just shot them at sublight and got them that way. That brings us back to this episode. How cool was it seeing Slave One after they shot the guy on the cannon with the shuttle? It just kind of encapsulates the Landa class shuttle. That was cool. Like, you don't get a lot of boarding sequences in Star Wars.
No, and honestly, that's one of the only, like, I have my little nitpicks with the ending of the episode. I think that was overall the roughest part of the episode. I just, it seemed very abrupt, and there were some decisions there I wasn't the biggest fan of. But in terms of the rest of the episode, which I did think was top notch, the only thing I would have thought is I wish we could have seen a little bit more of Boba Fett. I think it does kind of suck that once their decoy plan finishes, it's just like, oh, out of here, and he takes off.
Conveniently gone when Luke shows up.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
If Luke saw him, he would have like they would have started shooting each other. Like Boba would have just started shooting him, even if it wasn't like Luke doesn't recognize him because he painted the armor. Boba is going all out shooting Luke because he hates Jedi. Like, he hates them. Even if Boba kind of seems like more of a neutral character now, more of a protagonist, he will always hate the Jedi. That's one thing you really get from those Clone Wars episodes. But you said abrupt. That's one thing that I thought, because you hear the alarm when Red 5 shows up, when the X-Wing shows up. At first, I thought it was Boba Fett. Like, at first, I thought it was Boba Fett coming back in, right? Showed the X-Wing, because he does just. It's like, okay, he gets him in and then jumps to hyperspace and Boba's gone.
Right, and we had to come back at some point if, again, ambiguous time jump, they're on Tatooine killing Bib Fortuna,
Bib
right? That's his
Fortuna,
name? Yeah.
killed him.
Who,
Bib Fortuna got
weirdly enough, starts to look like a Hutt sitting in that chair, but it's a...
It's the chair. I mean, we're gonna do a time jump again, and then Boba's just gonna be,
blob in a
Fat
chair,
Bastard with a
like...
Mandalorian helmet. Yeah.
His head's gonna be squeezing out of the helmet like it can't fit.
They have to surgically remove it.
The Book of Boba Fett is gonna be just 6 hours of Fennec Shan running his ass on a treadmill. That's all it's gonna be.
Posing. Book of Boba Fett. It's just Book of Boba Fett. It's just it's a cookbook by Jon Favreau.
The Book of Boba Fett is the sequel to the Book of Mormon. It's just gonna be Josh Gad and Tamara Morrison singing for 2 hours.
No. Oh god.
Actually, that does lead me to segue jokingly to an interesting point. Do you think this has a shot at being some kind of film, like an extended one-shot story rather than an extended series?
Yes, that's more what I was saying when it comes to them transitioning in December, because if they're both in December, you can assume that. So let's just assume Mandalorian season 3 is coming out in December. They would probably put that around. Yeah, they would put that around Christmas. Like they would put Mando around Christmas. But say before Christmas, like December 1st, December 3rd. I'm not sure what days what in the calendar. The Book of Boba Fett could be like a 3-part miniseries.
I can get you a calendar. Give me a sec.
Yeah. Oh, breaking news. We know what day is what in 2021.
So the Fridays in December next year are the 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st.
Okay. So has Disney Plus only... I don't think Disney Plus has only released things on Fridays. It's just been Mandalorian and that Star Wars gallery. Those two have come out.
No, because I only say this because I've actually seen the show, and my little sister watched it as it aired. Their High School Musical show they did also aired on Friday.
That also comes out on Friday. Okay.
And I don't know about any of their other shows, but any of the ones I've seen or interact, like I know their original slate from everything last year was all Friday releases.
Really?
With the one exception being that episode of Mandalorian they aired the Wednesday before Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But everything was a Friday. And I haven't paid any attention to anything, most of the shows they've released since.
No.
But that initial slate of shows, I believe, were all Friday releases, yes.
So if they are running, if it is just 2 8-episode
WandaVision is a Friday release too.
It's a Friday as well. Okay.
Yeah,
so maybe
let me double check Winter Soldier.
Maybe they want you on Disney Plus every day rather than just on Friday, and they would come out with
Winter Soldier is also a Friday release. It's March 12th. That's a Friday.
Wow. So that I could not see them releasing 2 different Star Wars shows on the same Friday.
That was my thing. That was my thought process.
That doesn't seem likely.
The way that Disney seems to be lining it up with specifically their Star Wars shows and their Disney shows is okay, basically starting from 2021, every single week we can deliver a Star Wars or a Marvel property because they have, leading up until whatever 2023 2024, they have 10 Star Wars shows, they have 12 Marvel shows, and then any other high budget show anyone might be interested in, like Lucasfilm has Willow, that could get some eyes on it. And then obviously all the other stuff they announced that's going to be show wise, and I don't know how much of that will be specifically Friday releases, but I could see them like marqueing every single Friday we can have something for you, whether it be 6 weeks of this, then 6 weeks of this, then this and that, and because all the Marvel shows I believe are 6 episodes.
Yeah, and that's great for like the beginning of a streaming service, but like it's like growth. You know what I mean? Like the more they make, the more they're gonna have to spread it out. And like I think I'm just looking at it. Instead of releasing, because at some point with all these shows they've announced, a Star Wars show is going to have to come out at the same point as a Marvel show. And when that happens, I don't see them releasing it on the same day. Like it'll probably be Wednesday Star Wars, Friday Marvel. So I think their goal is to eventually dominate every day of the week as far as television programming. They want to own things, and it's funny that it's Friday because ABC was always the TGIF thing. All of their big shows were always saved for Friday when
Well,
I was a kid.
the way that I've always looked at it is I figure Friday was the day they air it. Simply
Yeah,
because Disney's in the marquee movie business, and most
yeah,
marquee movies will come out on a Friday.
yeah,
So to me, it made a natural transitional
yeah. That
sense
is
of
it.
like,
Yeah,
and like for their launch shows, like launching High School Musical on Fridays, launching that I think it was Kristen Wiig had a
yeah.
show, launching the Jeff Goldblum show, launching
It's
all of that
cinematic.
on Friday. Right, was much more of, okay, this is everything we got right now. Every single Friday, you will get
Yeah.
all of your pieces of this show.
Because if you're looking
Um,
at network, like if you're looking at like network TV kind of in the 2000s era, Friday night is always where shows went to die.
to die.
But it's
Yeah,
funny because
Friday
these
night
come
to
out
death
Friday
sentence.
mornings. Yeah, these always come out on Friday mornings, so they don't really fall under that jurisdiction of Friday night, and this becomes the event to do on Friday night. That's why they would always move to Friday night to die, because
And
people had things to do on Friday nights, and they wouldn't be watching TV.
right, and also I think it also leans into, like, again, if we're comparing it to a cinematic stance, like
Yeah.
movies released on Friday to take advantage of the opening weekend, right? Where you'll
Mhm.
have these are the times where people will most want to do something, so let's get
Yeah,
eyes on it. Similar as to
yeah,
how, like, around holidays like Christmas or the 4th of July or Thanksgiving, you'll see films come out a day or two earlier to try and capitalize on that weekend. I think they took a very similar approach to this where it's like, okay, if we put it out on a Friday, then that means most people will be free at the weekends. It's Star Wars. So this is the best time for us to try and grab somebody's attention and get eyes on our show quickly because people will want to be in the know for when Monday comes around and you're all back at work, possibly talking
water
about our
cooler.
show. Whereas if The Mandalorian just dropped on a Tuesday night, sometimes you may not have the time for everyone to get in and see what they need to, you know?
Yeah, no, but what I think after this conversation though, I'm more leaning towards it being a 3-part miniseries or a one
I
like
can see
just a
that. Yeah.
movie thing. Yeah. Because I don't think that they're gonna flat out replace The Mandalorian for an entire season. Like that just kind of
Yeah.
seems we would like that. Like we're okay with like
It
anthology
it seems
storytelling like that.
it seems contrary to what they've done so far, but also we have to remember this whole Disney Plus thing is still really a fledgling series, you know.
Yeah.
Um I think for Disney Plus as a service and their production companies producing shows for it, this is really going to be the first true test for them because even though they have the subscribers and they have the catalog to bring in the subscribers, overall I would call this first year a failure. They really didn't put out any, with the exception of Hamilton, which was a theatrical film. No
Mhm.
movies went out that grabbed anyone's attention, with the exception of The Mandalorian for grown-ups and I would say High School Musical for the younger
Clone Wars
ages.
Clone Wars did
Nothing.
well.
Clone Wars, okay, but
Yeah.
3 shows in a year that grabbed attention, and Clone Wars was done by May. So you had the entire pandemic period where you don't have anything that's really
Yeah.
grabbing anyone's attention. Now, obviously, they're reaching to a point where they're going to start having that stuff produced and ready to go, and they're going to start kind of building in on those promises they made when they
Mhm.
announced the series, the
And
launch
Falcon
2
and Wanda
years
were
ago.
supposed to be this year.
They
Like
were,
those were
right,
supposed
and
to
that's a
be.
pandemic thing.
Mhm.
I just
But yeah,
think
I
the
agree with you.
this first year has been a rough year in terms of content. Um, the most mass-produced thing they've put out are their documentaries, and those are only going to grift a certain audience of people
Mhm.
that want to see those documentaries. And I've heard they're very quality.
Yeah.
It's just about who is interested in seeing it. Um, so I think this will be the first real test of they've really got a slate for themselves now with the 10 Marvel, 10 Star Wars, and really 12 Marvel, but the Marvel, the Star Wars, the 15 Disney shows and the 15 Disney movies, that's a real built slate of, all right, how much of this is going to succeed? This is your test.
Mhm.
Um, and I also think it'll be interesting to see when when the quality starts stretching, how does it affect it, right? We've seen this
Stretching.
show.
I think it's funny you said that.
We
Because
we've
like
oh, Go ahead.
No, well, you said stretching. I just thought that was funny because of all the things they showed, we got like tiny little snippets of footage. And I think the one that looked it looked like it had the least amount of effort put into it, and it was the Miss Marvel one.
Oh,
And she stretches. That was fun. The quality is going to be stretching by the time that comes up. But I'll let you continue. I'm sorry.
No, because like, okay, so let's look at like Favreau and Dave Filoni, right?
Yeah.
They have put their entire heart and soul into this show, and I think that's why it has been as good as it is.
Yeah.
This is not to doubt them in any sort of way, but we've seen with someone like Favreau where, he put his heart and soul into Mando while working on Lion King. One suffered, one didn't. And that's a normal thing with creators and directors and all that. Now they're responsible for this show and whatever Book of Boba Fett is, and Rangers of the New Republic, and Ahsoka, and I assume Filoni has some sort of hand in Bad Batch because it's animation and it's based off of his show.
Bad Batch.
So that's 5 shows under their combined jurisdiction. Can the quality continue? No, I think
is they're all under the same roof. Like that.
Huh?
That's the benefit they have.
Yes,
they're all
correct.
under the same roof. Because even if both were Disney with Favreau, one was Disney animation or Disney proper,
Disney live
and
action,
one was Lucasfilm. That's another benefit. We don't know how. Do we know how many episodes Ahsoka is?
Shoot. No, the only episode. So they've the only thing they've confirmed about Ahsoka is outside of Filoni and Rosario is that it is a. They've said, which I think they'll stick to this. They've said this one is a limited series, so I think it is going to be one shot of episodes, and that's that. Which is why I think if Thrawn's going to be in any of these shows, it'll be that one. I think they very clearly were leaving you a thread for that show.
Because Cassian, I think, was 12.
Cassian's 12. They've confirmed Cassian is 12, yes.
Yeah. And that's also a limited one.
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's funny how they label them. Like the labels really, it just, because I don't know what Mando won an Emmy for. Like if that wins regular series or if that wins limited or miniseries, I would have put it under limited or miniseries because it's only 8 episodes. Like
Lando won outstanding drama series at the 72nd Primetime Emmys. So it was just labeled as a series, not miniseries or limited.
See, that's crazy to me because I look at, like you're saying, like, are they stretching themselves too thin? I'm looking at 8, 8, 8, 24. That's basically what the network TV basic amount for a full series order used to be. Granted, these were much cheaper shows, like these network shows that get 24 episode runs. But what we could end up seeing is that they just plan this out, even though they have like different production schedules and stuff. The way they plan it out as far as production goes, they work on it as if it's one show, and these resources we're using for the Mandalorian are still going to be used for Rangers of the New Republic, for the Book of Boba Fett. And from what I hear, Book of Boba Fett's pretty much done at this point, I think. Like, they haven't announced anything about like official announcement, but the Vanity Fair articles from a couple weeks ago, they were saying like they're already shooting, they're already in production. So I think they're already doing it, is what I'm saying. Like they wouldn't have announced it to us if they didn't know that they could do it. But I really hope that some of these aren't subpar quality. I don't think they'd put them out if they were.
So I was going to say, looking in terms of like which awards category for TV shows are so weird. So their one primetime Emmy nomination was in outstanding drama series, and to give you an idea, they were up against Succession, Better Call Saul, The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, Ozark, and Stranger Things. So that's an eclectic mix of just anything you could call drama.
Yeah.
When you break it down further into, because the Emmys has their creative awards, like they won outstanding cinematography for a single camera series, half hour, outstanding musical composition for a series, outstanding production design for a narrative program, outstanding editing for a comedy, drama, or animated series. Outstanding sound mixing for so these are all sorts of weird qualifications, but the only one they won that mentions limited series is outstanding stunt coordination for a drama series, limited series, or movie. So it seems like this is being labeled as just a straight up show, not a limited or a mini, or whereas I would take the labelings on the other ones to mean they plan on sticking to that label.
Yeah, because you look at something like even like shows on HBO. I think the standard HBO season is 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a weird thing because every time they announce limited series or there was an event series was another word that they used. I think they labeled Kenobi as an event series.
Yes.
Yeah. So they've got all these different labels that they're putting on here that don't really make much sense. But the book of Boba Fett, I really do think that will be in the truest form. A limited series / television movie.
Yeah, possibly.
That was funny. You were reading something and it just...
Yeah, I'm trying to read through to see what they describe these different shows at, 'cause I'm trying to see if they're using different labeling. So, like, Ahsoka has the limited label on it. Lando has the limited label on it. The Acolyte doesn't.
Acolyte doesn't, yeah.
Obi-Wan has the limited label on it. Andor does not, from what I'm quickly trying to read.
Yeah. I know Andor was one of the outliers one way or the other.
Yeah, and then Rangers of the New Republic doesn't either.
Doesn't, no.
So I think that's giving us an idea, which Andor could only go for so long because that does have technically an endpoint, which is called the start of Rogue One.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay. So some of these I think they intend to make like recurring shows, and some of them I think they're only intending for a limited amount of time.
Mm-hmm. And they could evolve too. So like they could be making and like with the Ahsoka limited series, they could be calling that a limited series because whatever the next show that Ahsoka is on after that won't be a limited series. They could be making a show about like Sabine, a limited series, and then just have different point of view characters for all of these. Because we've already seen with Fennec,
and I was going to say,
anywhere.
Networks have gotten away with different things like that before. A good example for this is Wet Hot American Summer. Those creators did the Netflix limited series First Day at Camp, which was a prequel. There technically was a second season as it was kind of ordered, but it's a completely separate show that's also its own limited series called 10 Years Later, which is a sequel to the film. And so it's like, okay, technically you're using the same crew, the same cast for the most part, and you're working within in the same universe. But these are two technically separate limited series that have a beginning, middle, end. So they definitely could do that if they wanted to.
So that may be the best thing to compare. Like that may be like the best metric to gauge what Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like they're two separate entities, but they have the same production crew. They have the same actors pretty much, but they're listing it as two different things for credit purposes or award purposes. It's probably a shareholder thing so that Disney Plus can say, hey, look at all of our shareholders. Because otherwise it could have just been, this could be what they did with the 2 episodes too. Because remember we were talking about how they got the 10 episode order, but they only used 8 of them.
Yes.
This could be those extra 2 episodes because that like those resources have to go somewhere. So they could have made those 2 episodes and then just said, okay, well, this works better as its own thing than works as something as part of the Mandalorian. Because plans can change too. That's the biggest thing that I think.
And that's the thing, right? Is contractually, I don't know how that all works out. It absolutely is possible. But that was a Disney Plus thing where they basically, every launch show they released, they announced that they were renewed with the option of plus 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So you're right. I could see maybe if Book of Boba Fett isn't a full-on show and isn't a season 3, maybe it's one attached movie, or kind of like the end of Clone Wars where that's really a movie, but it's broken up 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe these are 2 episodes that are its own special, but you could watch it back to back like it's a movie basically.
That's another thing they did a good job with this season, just on Disney Plus in general, was having backdoor pilots for other series without showing your hand first. So, like,
Right. Like looking back on it, like
yeah.
I truly believe that stuff in episode 4 is
Mhm.
a backdoor. Like I could even see Carl Weathers coming back and being involved
For
in that show
Ranger,
in some way. Like I could totally see that going that direction.
and then
Because I
Ahsoka,
don't
the same thing.
my initial thought when they announced it was, oh, maybe it's like a complete fighter pilot show. But then they announced Rogue Squadron, and I was like, okay, so I
Yeah.
don't think they're going to do that.
No.
Because if they're doing Rogue Squadron, I don't think they do 2 direct fighter pilot things back to back.
Yeah.
But there's certainly, so there's that. Ahsoka, right, is clearly a backdoor pilot.
Bad
but-
Batch, they did too. Those 4 episodes with Bad Batch
Yeah.
and
And that's the most anything's felt like a backdoor pilot. Like
Yeah.
I watched that and I literally thought, did you guys just pick these 4 episodes to animate because you want to make a series? Because this wouldn't
that's
fit
what it
in
was,
most
'cause
final seasons.
Because they have what's interesting about that is that with that Bad Batch arc, I saw that like 6 years ago.
Right,
They
it's in
released
comics,
animatics
right?
to that.
Oh, animatics.
No, it was animatics. Like, it was storyboards that were unfinished, but all the voice acting and dialogue were exactly the same, with the exception there was one scene with Anakin and Padme and Obi-Wan. That one scene wasn't in the original Bad Batch arc, but they showed these animatics. That it was this one, and there was a Boba Fett arc with Cad Bane, and then the third one was Crystal Crisis. It was called Crystal Crisis, and that one I felt should have been made instead of the Bad Batch one at the time. Definitely instead of that Ahsoka one. But the concept of that one was there was a giant kyber crystal on Utapau that the Separatists were trying to get their hands on for the Death Star. Like it was for the Death Star, but at this point, like, Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't know that, but they're investigating what's going on with this giant kyber crystal. Why do they want this giant kyber crystal? They're trying to weaponize this giant kyber crystal, but at the end of it, they destroy it, but then hint, okay, they're going to be looking for more of these kyber crystals to power this weapon. So it plays more into Rogue One than it does into any sort of like spin-off that they were trying to develop. So eventually I hope they do finish that one, because that works is just such a good it's a piece of just canon cake, really. It's like, oh, cool, they knew about it, but they didn't investigate enough. So yeah. But I think we've got all we can say about Mandalorian for this episode. Like I said with Alan, maybe next week, maybe weeks down in the past, in the future, we can look to the past for other like arcs of the Clone Wars, the prequels, the sequels, the original trilogy, the holiday special. Why not? That is probably what we should do, the holiday special.
The Christmas special, the original one or the Lego one? Because I don't know if I can find the original one.
I have the original one.
Oh,
but I haven't put it up yet, but I will. You'll have it by the end of the day. But the Lego one was good. The Lego one was just plain good. But
yeah,
well.
I was with some friends, and like me and my buddy saw it, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. So we're like, oh, let's watch it. We put it on, and then like his girlfriend and her friend were with us, and they came over and sat down, and they started asking legitimate questions because they don't know Star Wars like that. And we were just like, yeah, no, let's just turn this off and put something else on.
I thought it was fun. It didn't take itself seriously at all. It was almost like it was a Robot Chicken sketch, but my favorite part of that was just seeing what, like, that those characters were still up to stuff after Rise of Skywalker. I can't wait to get more like episode 10-ish stuff. Like, give me that. Give me Finn with a lightsaber. Come on. That was awesome. Like Lego Finn holding Rey's lightsaber. Just
I don't know if they'll be going there very often, but
nah, they won't.
They seem to want to move away from episode 10-ish.
Yeah, maybe someday. We can hope. Well, I can hope, at least. Me and Alan can hope. Other people didn't like Rise of Skywalker, but me and Alan loved it.
I didn't like it, but I like I like the other versions of the characters and their other films.
Did you like the Lego Rise of Skywalker? Like, it's the same movie, but it's just all Legos. That'd be funny.
I mean, if the Lego joke writing's there, maybe I'll like it more. You know, I mean, I would bump Rise of Skywalker up a point if at some point someone would just turn, look at the camera, and go, "Are you guys understanding this? Because I'm fucking not," and then just move on with the movie.
You know, Dengar's in that movie. Dengar, he's there. He's just there.
Dengar, the raptor-looking thing.
Dengar. Yeah, he's there. He's like entirely a cyborg now, but he's there. It's like this little teeny tiny head sticking out of a cyborg body, and I guess that's Dengar. It's credited as Dengar. Just found that out last week.
All right then. Well,
that's all we have. That's all we have, guys. Thank you for joining us. Check out more episodes here. Go to TMG Trivia, TMG After Dark. Find us at all those places. Good night. Aaron, where can they find you? Those places, right?
Yeah, TMG, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, fun. Okay. Horrible intro, horrible outro. Bye-bye.
You're getting better. You can edit the words out and just have them go in the order that you would like them to.
That would be difficult.